everybody. I'm going to start with a couple poems that are kind of on the more serious side about related to current events. So the first one I wrote in response to the shootings in Newtown, Connecticut. And I was kind of surprised that, it was interesting that people were posting a lot about the event and about, that these children were murdered. But I couldn't help thinking that there's other children around the world who are being murdered all the time and who are suffering. So this is called Mother of the World. Don't ask me to grieve for these children only. Ask me to grieve for them all. Ask me to grieve for the 16 million who go to bed hungry every night. Ask me to grieve for them all. Ask me to grieve for the 1.6 million who go to sleep without a home every night. Ask me to grieve for them all. Ask me to grieve for the 6 million around the world who die from hunger every year, or the 176 killed by US drones in Pakistan. Ask me to grieve for them all. You don't have to ask me to mourn for these innocents, for I mourn all the children of this world always, and I am ashamed, and I am grieving. And this is actually a flash fiction piece, and it's called Remote Controlled. Lying in bed that night, the flowery wallpaper made him think of her, and he found it hard to sleep again. It was his own fault. He knew he shouldn't keep watching the screen after the explosions, but he couldn't help himself. He figured his tired eyes were playing tricks on him when he had a vision of the girl walking through the wall, like she was stepping into a garden. The flowers in the wallpaper also made him think of home. The blue bonnets, a reflection of the blue sky he loved looking at ever since he was a child. No wonder he had spent so much time flying those remote-controlled airplanes. He was like a kid for them. Standing in a green field, his dog at his feet, and nothing between him and long stretches of grass and sky, he would maneuver the planes through the air for hours. Sometimes he'd smoke a joint and pretend he was in the plane, traveling to strange lands. He read one time that watching a bird flying in the sky was a form of meditation. You could connect your soul to the bird's flight and feel a sense of freedom from the experience. Flying the planes was like that. He was not getting enough work then. Construction could be like that, feast or famine. So he started growing for the money. He was up to 70 plants when he got busted. He got off with no convictions, but the lawyer fees broke him. He saw a poster about a $20,000 signing bonus with the Army and got himself recruited, flown to a strange land, and given a job. Now he stares at gray and brown landscapes through a computer screen, flies planes thousands of miles away using a keyboard. Unmanned aerial vehicles, they call them. He figures that sounds more sophisticated than remote-controlled airplanes, something maybe his ex-girlfriend could respect. He had seen the explosion on his terminal, the clearing of dust and debris, the body of a little girl in a simple dress on the ground, bloodstains which bloomed like dark flowers. And these are some other new pieces I've been working on. 1. Sometimes words escape me like shy little birds. afraid to leap out of the nest. One tries to lure with scraps of bread positive thoughts. 2. In the space between thinking outside the box and living inside one, our dignity diminishes. 3. I have not watched TV on a regular basis for 7 years, which has nothing and everything to do with a broken mirror and superstition. Some people don't watch the news because it's sad and depressing. 4. Most people don't have a choice whether or not to deal with harsh realities, whether or not to pay them any attention. 5. Someday I will flap my wings and become a word that escapes my mind. 6. When the prophecies start to come true, poets set themselves on fire and words are not needed. These next 2 poems are kind of fanciful pieces based on dreams. Oracle at Delphi. You can't ask the oracle at Delphi any old question and expect a good answer. For example, if you ask the oracle what's for dinner, she's going to say food. Not very telling, and then you've gone and wasted your question and embarrassed yourself and have learned nothing. You have to ask the oracle a very precise question. What would you ask the oracle if you could? Perhaps you would ask, what is the meaning of life? In my dream, I wanted to know whether the revolution would eliminate class distinctions and make it so everyone could lead equal lives. Horse dream. I was at my parents' house. I don't know what time it was, maybe the middle of the night. Maybe it was after school, and I, the oldest, was watching my siblings. Maybe I was supposed to make them some food. All I know is there are several horses in the barn, and they all wanted to get out. It was all I could do to keep them in their stalls. In fact, they kept getting out, and me and my sister would have to catch them and coax them back in some cases by grabbing onto their heads and leading them, our arms around their necks, back into their stalls. And then these are some older pieces some of you may have heard before. No delicate thing is safe. Shells inevitably become empty, the way your brain holds thoughts, or how snails live inside them, temporarily. Living inside a shell, you're protected. No one can see your delicate nature without an act of violent penetration. In a boat on the Caribbean Sea, I saw a man stab a shell and rip out the animal living inside it. I put the shell to my ear, heard the ocean whisper, beware. No man is an island, and no delicate thing is safe. Living without. She said she couldn't live without her iPhone. I told her Chinese factory workers who make iPhones were killing themselves due to low wages and poor living conditions, and she said she couldn't live without it. I couldn't talk anymore after that, and so I thought about how I want to live on a farm and grow my own food and not buy things that other people died to make for me, so that my miserable American life might seem easier, or like I somehow deserved people to die for me, like soldiers in Iraq or Afghanistan, dying for a truth and justice that the American way destroyed a long time ago, and oil. If we can't live without iPhones or oil or killing other people, then call me alien. Call me an illegal alien, I don't care. I'm not a good American, I know this, because I don't like to buy things made in China by people dying, and I can live without oil and war and pesticides and TV and the iPhone and Democrats and Republicans and suicide and the artificiality of real low prices, made low because, again, of dying people and pesticides and war. And if I'm a bad American because of this, maybe I am a communist. And how scary is that? Maybe I should be exiled to Cuba and not have to listen about TV shows and iPhones and war and people dying to make things I can live without. This is a poem I wrote for Juan Miro's The Flight of a Bird Over the Plain, number 3. So it's about a painting. The bird is like me. The bird becomes me. I fly through the hole in the sky that is blue and leave the brown field behind. I leave my human body behind, leave science behind. I carry with me a string of eggs. They are black and white like science. I will bring them home to multiply. Red makes it real, makes it bleed. I become the bird, become free. Life is an incomplete sentence. He sent his bird to her, and their birds then communicated their innermost desires and secrets with each other. And this is how they fell in love. Shyly at first, and without acknowledging it, until you couldn't tell their birds apart from each other anymore, and they were light as feathers. Tree says, stop, says, look at me, says, stand still, up straight, says, tall, says, now, says, yes, says, more, says, breathe. Tree says, let your hair down, says, laugh, says, sway, says, do not cut me down. Tree says, it is not your place to know the things the trees know. That's why only the trees know them. Tree says, everything is wind. And just one more. This is called Please Hold On. And if you ride the Muni bus in San Francisco, you'll probably recognize it. Every time the bus stops, we hear, please hold on, please hold on. A mantra for this day of birthdays, churches, parks, and prayers. An uncompleted pilgrimage to the ocean. Like, what is the word for it? A marriage uncomplicated by sex. Unconsummated, that's it. Please hold on. Please hold on. Arms touching, legs against each other. Please hold on.